Hi friends, today we are going to see how to install ESXi server. On top of that, how to install the guest OS on ESXi server. Okay, now I am going to create a new virtual machine. I'll select the image. Vmware ESXi 7 and later detected. I will name it up ESXi 1. Okay. Number of processes taking like 2, and default memory it is taking 4 GB. Okay. Use default it is taking use network address translation NAT. It's okay. Recommended IO controller type para virtualized SCSI. Okay. Virtual disk type SCSI. Okay. Create a new virtual disk. Use the existing virtual disk. Use physical disk for advanced user. I will choose like create a new virtual disk. See, now it is in VMware ESXi server 7. When you install, it is taking 128 GB as internal purpose. After 128 GB, how much you want to create? For example, I am planning to give 80 GB, 128 plus 80 GB. You can add how much you want to add. 128 it will not. So after 128 only, most of the people will get confused. Oh, I added maybe 130 GB. Only 10 GB is 2 GB is showing out of 130. Why? Because the VMware ESXi server itself by default it is taking 128 GB as internal purpose. So after that, how much you want, you have to calculate. Now I want to create 80 GB plus 128 default it will go. So minimum if you want to create a 80 GB disk, then you have to give 208 GB disk. 208. 208. Okay. When you select, you can select store virtual disk as a single file, so it will be easy to manage. Okay. Now I choose 208 with the store physical disk as a single file. So recommended size it's showing 142 minimum. So you can choose the file where you want. Call it as say ESXi 1. Okay. If you want, you can customize memory 4 GB, default processor 2 processor, CD drive it's showing like a 7.0 NAT address. Okay. You can choose power on the virtual machine after creation. Okay. Finish. Now it is installing ESXi 7 server. Within just a few seconds it will install, maybe 1 minute or so. It will not take much. By default 4 GB is minimum requirement. So you have to make sure that you have free memories available. I have memory of 32 GB available, 17 GB available. So you have to verify whether how much memory size is available on your machine. See, now it's almost done. It is starting the service VM tool SD. So here it will show how much processor, 2 processor, Intel Core, it's a i5 10th generation, CPU speed 2.90 gigahertz, and 4 GB memory, and VMware version 7.0.2 ESXi server. So why we need to create a ESXi server? So I have a VMware workstation. I can create a Windows or Linux. Why I need to create a ESXi server, and on top of that why I want to install Linux on or Windows on the ESXi server. See, if you just directly if you install Linux or Windows on the VMware workstation, there are limited only limited permission you can permission means like there are feature wise there are n number of features is available. I will tell you later one by one. Here it is asking like almost done. Press select the operation to perform. Yes, enter to continue. F11, accept and continue. See, the whole local disk is showing like a 208 GB. Okay, I'll give enter. US default, enter. You can create a root password. Enter, install F11. Installing ESXi server 702. The latest version. Most of the IT, traditional IT corporate environment, almost 6.5 or 6.7 maximum we are using, and this is new to our IT technology. Most of the time they will not change, so they are still familiar with the stable version 6.5 they will use. So now it's done. It is asking like remove the installation media before rebooting. Yes, you can choose yes, and you can enter and reboot. So the installation part is completed. Now it is booting up. Yeah, now it is done. See that these are the, to manage this host, go to, it gives IP address using a DHCP. So when you reboot again, it will ask, it will show the different IP address. To make it static, we have to give, here it is showing F2. F2 customize the system, view logs. Enter F2, give the password. Configure management network, IPv4 configuration. Select static. Use the same IP address, or if you want you can give the whatever the IP address, if the network team whatever they provide the IP address, you have to give this IP address. Default gateway, enter. And DNS configuration is the following. You can name ESXi1 as a host name, enter. So when you come out, it will ask to restart the network management. Yeah, you can give yes. That's all. Now we have done, and you can access either ESXi1 or https://192.168.48.129. Let me https://192.168.48.129. Hit enter. It will ask, yeah, I have to believe that I have to unsave, I have to proceed. I give the password, the root. I don't want to join this, can leave it. Now if you see that I gave 208 GB, the storage, the capacity is showing like 79.75, at most 80 GB it's taking. Remaining 120 GB it is taking internal purpose on ESXi server 7 version. So on 6.5, 6.7 Those server you don't need to give 128 GB additional, but 7 ESXi server minimum 128 GB for additional internal purpose it is taking. So apart from how much GB it is you are giving, it is taking here capacity is showing like only 80 GB here now. I am going to on the virtual machine create a register of virtual machine. I'm going to create a Linux 1, Linux or CentOS. CentOS compatibility 7.0 and OS family Linux and CentOS 7. Okay, 64-bit. Okay, so by default it is taking data store 1, so that is the one which we created, 80 GB disk. Remaining 128 GB is taking additional internal purpose. Apart from 128 GB only, now it is showing 80 GB only. And one CPU, memory I'll give GB, 1 GB, hard disk 16 GB. Either you can choose host device or data store ISO file. You will create a directory called ISO upload So most of the traditional IT industries, they will just create the ISO image, all the ISO image, Windows or Linux, all the ISO image they will create here, and whenever you want to create the VM, we can use that VM ISO image while creating the virtual machine. Just as it's almost completed 50%. And other way, you can use the host connection with we attached that CD drive on the workstation. That way also we can do. We can attach the same ISO image on the CD drive on the host. I'll show you. Now it is almost 100% completed. ISO image is ready. Using the ISO image, I'll select. Here it is showing two options. Either you can connect host device and data store ISO file. Host device means you can go there and VMware machine. You can select settings. This is a host, and that host you can choose. You can choose that where you are VM is available, like CentOS or Windows, wherever it is. Just select it. From there you can install. So most of the time in IT industries they will not use this method. They will use that ISO image. In that we will create a data store ISO image. and you can leave it as a default USB VM network video card default. So that's all we can. Now it is connected. It is installing now. Continue. So whatever we are installing the workstation, the similar way we have to install it. Keyboard language, minimal package. Automatically it will install. Okay, not connected. Scan. So you can give the server name. Begin installation, give the root password. So that's all. Now almost done. It's now installing package. Excuse me, sorry. Meanwhile, we are going to install another machine, Windows machine. Create a virtual machine, name it as Windows OS family, guest OS family Windows, where we can install 2016. It's using the same data store. It is default, it is taking 90 GB, so we'll give 30, and that too, you select, you have to give thin provisioned, because what is thin provisioned? If I select 30 GB, if you click thick, entire 30 GB it will occupy. If I give 30 GB, if I provide thin, and it is consuming out of 10 GB, it will not take entire 30 GB. Okay, I will choose thin provision, and GB 2 GB. Here I am going to create a data store ISO image, upload, Windows Server. So comparing Linux, it is taking a little bit time. Here, why we are creating? We can create it directly on the top of the VMware workstation. We can directly create a Linux or Windows. But why we need to create? We can create two ESXi server. We can create like a ESXi 1 and ESXi 2. We can create a dedicated resource pool. The entire resource, and dedicated resource means like for it will just a group of VM. It will create while creating the VM, the resource pool, like how much memory. If you select the memory 4 GB or 6 GB, whenever it uses us, suppose host 1 is using 2 GB and host 2 is not using that much memory. So whenever it needed, it will take from the resource pool. That kind of features we can add it. And there is a HA cluster, live migration. So there are a number of features is added here. That is why we are just installing all the VMware cluster, HA cluster, DRS, and high availability. That live migration and cold migration. Cold migration means like when the host server is down, that time we can migrate. And when the live server, how to migrate, that is called vMotion technology. Using the vMotion, we can move the server from one ESXi server to other ESXi server, and so on. So there are a number of features is added. That is why we are just installing VMs on top of the host, ESXi host. I will create, meanwhile I will create another VMware ESXi server. I will call it a ESXi 2. Why we need to create a ESXi 2 means like we will install the vCenter on the ESXi 2. I will create a new same 7.0. We'll call it a ESXi 2 server. Number of process 2. This time we will give some more, almost minimum 12 GB we have to give. I will give 12 GB. into 1024, 12,288. I can give 13,000 otherwise. 13,000. 13 GB almost. For the second ESXi server, I will give 13 GB as a memory. Use network address translate net. para virtualize this SCSI recommended. SCSI recommended. Okay. Create a new virtual disk. Okay, as I told you previously, I have to recalculate the storage. Now, how much GB is required? A disk space. So internally it will use 128. I mean 128 GB internal storage it is taking, and the top of that minimum 300 to 350, 350 to 400 GB, and ESXi 6.5 or 6.7, 250 GB it is taking, and ESXi 7 onwards it is taking like almost 550 including 128 GB. 128 plus 400, 528, so I will give 550 GB store virtual disk as a single file. Okay, I leave it as a ESXi2 default name. Verify 550 GB hard disk, 13 GB memory, and add to CPU, power on the virtual machine after creation. It's almost 80% completed. The Windows ISO image I am going to install on the ESXi 1. And now it is ESXi2 is installing now. It will take a couple of minutes, I mean 1 or 2 minutes maximum. Okay. %. So after I migrated 6.5 to 7, I got confused. Where is my 128 GB? After I googled, I found like it is taking a 7 version, VMware version 7. It is taking 128 GB as a internal purpose. 128 GB. Wow. It's very difficult. You know, we have to buy a new configuration, latest OS. I mean, latest systems. And only we can tackle all this. Okay, now the Windows server is ready. I'm going to select this one, default. Okay, thin provision 30 GB, 2 GB memory. Okay, yes. Now the Linux machine is completed. Let me reboot. and the Windows machine I'm going to start now. So I logged in the Windows Linux machine. Now it's almost done, everything is done. Now the ESXi 2 is almost ready. I'll give enter, F11, accept. $550 GB, enter, US default, give the password. F11 to install. Now the Windows machine is installing. On ESXi server 1, I am installing the Linux and Windows. I will choose Evolution. Accept, custom, 30 GB drive. Okay. Now the installing Windows 2016 server. Now it is almost done on ESXi 2. See here it is showing like VMware 7022 into Intel Core, i5 10th generation CPU, 2.90 GHz and 12.7 GB memory. Almost 13 GB memory I have created. And that VMware workstation, I mean that ESXi host and vCenter you can just log in and register the VMware website, and then you can download it. Now it is showing DHCP. I will make it static. Press F2, password, configure management network, IPv4, use static, ESXi 1 is 129 and make it 130. If you want, you can ping 92.168.48.129. that is ESXi 1. I will make it 130 as a ESXi. That is also pinging 131. And 32. Yeah. See, now ESXi 1 server I gave 129. After that I installed 2 VMs, Linux and Windows, that is using 130 and 131, and 132 is now free. I can use that 132. Leave it in default gateway, enter DNS configuration. I will make use the following: ESXi 2, the name, host name is ESXi 2. Okay, enter, escape to exit. It will ask to restart the management network. Give yes. Okay, now it is done. I thought of will create a 130 continuously ESXi 1, ESXi server 2 IP address same one by one, but that VM it's taking Linux and Windows, those server it's taking internal 2 IP address 130, 131. Okay, that's fine. Now I am going to log in HTTPS 192.168.48.132. Okay, accept. Root login. If you want to join, okay, leave it, this one. Okay, now if you see, as I told you earlier, 550 GB it is taking. We gave 550 GB, then now it is capacity is showing 421, and memory almost 13 GB. Yeah, capacity 5.8 gigahertz CPU. Okay, now the Windows is ready on ESXi 1. So now we installed VMware Workstation Player 16 and on top of the workstation we install ESXi host, two ESXi host, ESXi1 and ESXi2. And the ESXi1 we installed Linux and Windows. Password for the Windows, it will not accept if you give minimum password or minimum requirement you have to give. Administrator password. Send the key. How to log in? Send the key, and here guest OS, send the key, Alt Control Delete. Okay. I have to give the root admin password, administrator password. Okay, now I am going to install VMware tool. VMware tool is not installed on the virtual machine. VMware tool allows the detailed guest information. Okay. Somewhere it will come. So the detailed log we can gather using the VMware tool. Install VMware tool. Guest OS, install VMware tool. Here it will come. Yeah, now it is coming like DVD drive, VMware tool, run, setup, installing. Next, next, next. You must restart the compute system. Okay, restart it. That's wrong. And ESXi2 server, it's ready now. So we now on the top of workstation we installed ESXi1, and the ESXi1 server we installed Linux and VM, and VM ESXi2 server we installed, and we are going to install the vCenter in the next video. Thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you.